right, we're on Taharot, Perek Tet, Mishnah Dalet. Fourth Mishnah in the 9th chapter of Masechet Taharot. We're talking about the olive press, and we're talking about when does it become tameh, when does it become tahor. This is a really fascinating Mishnah, because sometimes you read the Mishnah really just tells you a story that's so familiar to us. So if you ask yourself a question, what do you do if you're not really someone who's shomer kashrut, but you want to have a restaurant that people who keep kosher will eat in? So then you have, nowadays, we know what it is, you have a mashkiach, right? So what do you do if you're an am haaretz, you have an olive press? I guess most of the people, or I don't know, many of them were am haaretz, they have olive presses, but they need to sell their olive oil al Taharot HaKodesh. The Chaverim aren't going to buy it, no one's going to buy it. They have to take it to the Beit HaMikdash, you want to give it to the Kohen as Truma, all of those things. You have to take off Truma, so it has to be al Tahara. So how do you know you can trust him? Because normally he's not trustworthy. He himself, he's the owner, he doesn't care about these things. So, Hagomer et Zeitav. V'shier kupa achat. A person is gomer et Zeitav. Finishes, okay, la'achar shavar zman gitot v'abadim. He finishes the time of the gat and the bad. Okay, but now there's a little bit of a contradiction between this Mishnah and the Mishnah in Chagiga. Okay, because the Mishnah says, Hakol ne'emanim ala truma b'shat gitot v'abadim. Everyone is reliable about truma. So the Bar Tunura is saying that we're talking about a case where you left over very late. Shir kupa achat. The Katis is something different. I think Katis is I would say more accurate, but a different understanding. What would they do? Remember we said that the Chachamim Paskin, the halacha was that when are the Zaytim Mekabel Tuma? When you add and when you finish the harvest. So what they used to do was, it's like the Mishnah is telling a story. They would leave over kupa achat, one kupa, one basket full of olives. They would leave it on the side until they're really ready to do the press. When they're really ready to do the press, then they would add the last basket. Because then, I think Chachamim wouldn't let you cheat. But only then would they finally put it in. Then you have to be very careful. So now you'd have to know, okay, who is being, then you'd know, how would you know that he really was careful until the last basket, that he did put the last basket in after, and then he was very careful. So says the Mishnah, Yitnenu la'ani akohen. Okay, now there's two ways of understanding this. So you have to understand, so now according to the way the Bar Tanura explains, we're talking about the problem of, now I left over one kupa, and I want to give it truma, and I want to give it to the Kohen. Okay, everyone's ne'eman on truma, and everyone's reliable according to the Bar Tanura for truma and tara. So therefore I have this kupa, I left over a little bit. Why did I leave a little bit? I left over one kupa, kadeshi afrish mimenu truma u'masir b'tara. So it's so that they would take off truma and tara. So therefore, yidnena le'ani akohen. You have to give it in the eyes of the Kohen. Divi Rabbi Meir. So now, why do you have to give it in the eyes of the Kohen? Okay, you have to give to the ani Kohen. By the way, I'm already showing you. Each svarim de gar say le'ani akohen. There are some who have the version of ani akohen. We're going to see there's another version. You left over a small amount after the gitot and the badim. After that, you left it over. Everyone's reliable. We're not worried about Tum and Tara for whatever reason. Okay? So after that, since it's such a small amount, you give it to a Kohen Ani. He says, but really you could have given it to a Kohen Ashir. Now, I want to sort of get away from that pshat. So let's just learn it again according to the Bar Tanura. And this is based on the Gemara in Chagiga, I think. The Gemara says, you finish your zaytim, v'shiyir kupa achad. For whatever reason, you left one kupa on the side, and it's all Torah, everybody trusts you. You did a la'ani akohen. You have to do the Kohen who's an ani divrei Rabbi Meir. The problem with this explanation and interpretation is, it doesn't fit with the rest of the Mishnah. The rest of the Mishnah fits with the following girsa. It doesn't say, yidnena le'ani hakohen. Rather, the Bar Tanura has the version, okay, yidnena le'enei hakohen. You give it to the eyes of the Kohen. So I'm going to show you. Okay, meaning you have to give it in front of the Kohen. Yidnena means not to give it to him, but to put it into the pile while the Kohen is watching. So we're going to go to the Kitvei Yad here. This is Kitvei Yad Parma. You can see Parma. Gomer Zeita b'shir kupa achat. Yidnena he has le'ani Kohen. Divrei Rabbi Meir. But if we go to the Kitav Yad called Kitav Yad Kaufman, we're reading this thing. Yidnena le'enei haKohen. Divrei Rabbi Meir. So enei means you have to do it while the Kohen is watching. And that's, by the way, this is a significant girsa issue, a significant difference. It's not like a small matter. So let's learn it as Einei HaKohen. So there's a Mishnah. The way the Kati explains it. You finish v'shiyar kupa achat. That's really what they did. Not everybody was trustworthy. We don't rely on everybody. By the way, if Chazal said, we trust everybody because we don't want to mix things up. You think everybody trusted everybody? You think the Chaverim really would go to anybody based on women Xera? No, they were very, very careful. So therefore, I'm sure Yidnana le'einei Kohen. So the last one, he places the last basket, and while the Kohen's watching. Why? Because the Kohen is liable to say, okay, he was very careful. Now, from now on, nobody else is going to touch it. Divrei Rabbi Meir, unless you're a Chaver. Rabbi Yehuda says, you don't have to do that, rather. Yolich et hamafteach miyad. Immediately, that day, you take the key to the Beit Bad, and you give it over to the Kohen. Okay? When he gives over to the Kohen or to another Chaver, he gives the Kohen, he says, listen, I'm done with the harvest. You guys now take care of the process. That's okay. Rabbi Shimon says, you don't have to do it immediately that day, but you have 24 hours from the time you finish the harvest to give the key over to the Chaver, and that way, and then we still trust you and say that the stuff is still tahor. I think this is so interesting. Like, he has to give it right away. He has 24 hours. We trust him in 24 hours as long as he didn't. Or the Kohen has to watch him. Different levels of chumrah. What level of hashgacha do you need in order to trust the Am Haaretz that his olives are still tahor? We'll stop here. Dedicate our learning to memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. If you have comments or questions about the Girsaot, send me an email. Make it a great day. Or comment on the video. Make it a great day.